Greetings, everybody. Jared here with Fanboys Forever. We're just doing a little bit of live streaming. We'll give everybody a chance to kind of get into the chat a little bit, and we'll see where that goes. Do some Ninja Turtles talk. Nothing like ringing in the new year with a little bit of Ninja Turtles. Something we don't get to talk about near enough on the channel. Something we really enjoy. Hope everybody's having a good new year so far. Hopefully you're getting to spend some time with your family and do a little bit of celebrating, of course, responsibly this year, as things are a little different in 2020. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the set that we're looking at right here. This thing is awesome. It's from Playmates Toys, which is something that I don't usually get to say very often these days. It doesn't seem as though Playmates Toys is really doing too much, honestly. In 2020, it didn't really seem like much happened with the company. They were barely trickling out some Ninja Turtles product, which is incredibly unusual and probably pretty telling about what has been happening with the rise of the TMNT. I wonder if any of you guys have been watching. Hey, how you doing, Serenity? I wonder if anybody's been watching Rise of the TMNT. I wonder if anybody's been checking that show out. It's not really the type of, I don't know, it's not really the exact type of Ninja Turtles show that I'm into or the kind of thing that I like. But it's a okay show from what I've seen, but I don't really think it was made for me. I think it's made for more like younger Turtle fans. It's made for younger audiences, and that's cool because there needs to be things like that going on. And of course, that's the only way you're going to get kids into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, it can't always be something that's aimed at that older audience. So let's go ahead and let's look at this set here. This is, like I said, from Playmates Toys. Really cool looking set. I really love the packaging that they put the thing in. You can see it's got a little carrying case handle right up here. So that's always neat when you get that. You can take this around to all your friends. They can see how cool you are. So let's go ahead and let's look at the front of the van here. I like their little license plate here. I'm just going to get my background out of the way because I think it's just going to give me some trouble. So that's why I made it detachable. But I do think it's funny how it says Turtles right there on the license plate. The artwork is really cool on this. It actually does look like those old, it does actually look like those old Ninja Turtles comics. And I'm not really sure if they commissioned an artist or something from the original comics to do this, for all this artwork. It's really nice. If it was someone in the company, then they really studied the original Ninja Turtles comics. So I think that that's really cool if that's the case, because I think they've done a good job. Who knows? Maybe Kevin Eastman, maybe he actually did this, one of the creators of the Turtles. You can see on the back, we have Donatello back there. It says includes 6 figures inspired by the 1984 original comic book. So, and it says see bottom panel. So let's go ahead and look. This is what you get in the set. You get 6 figures right here. Really cool looking. We got Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, Splinter, and Shredder. Now, I know that probably every single one of these looks really familiar to anybody who's watching because all of these guys were released, I think, in 2016 or something, 2015. And they were a part of the standard, just the basic Turtles line that they did for the NECA show, and they're just comic book homage figures. And we've seen those guys before, but we haven't seen them in, I don't think anyway, in the kind of packaging that we're going to look at. We also have a very familiar looking Splinter figure. Of course, he is made to, basically, he is just a repurposing of the old Splinter sculpt from the original very first series of toys that they did. So that's nothing new in sculpt, but definitely different in what he's wearing, and definitely different some of the color choices. Oh, awesome. And here we have Shredder. And if this looks familiar to you, it should, because it is the original Shredder figure, only done in a new paint deco. And of course, without the cape, so sans cape, definitely. So let's go ahead, and basically you have a choice of either you can open it from this side over here, Or you can go to the back and open it back here. I thought it made a little more sense to open it back here. And you can see I've already removed the figures. So let's go ahead and let's look at our figures. So go ahead and get this to the side here. Start out with Raphael right here. Really cool. I think this is neat because I think the sculpting detail is definitely way above what Playmates toys would usually do for the basic Turtles line. I think this is a little more intricate than what we're used to seeing. So I really like that. But I'll tell you, the real star of the show here is the card art that's going on. You can see we have some really nice comic book artwork there, and it actually has a little tag inspired by the original '84 comics. So this is really nice. On the side, you can even see that we have some of the panels from the original comic. You can even see April in there if you look. And on the other side, we have a little bit different art. On the back, we actually get a colorized, slightly colorized anyway, panel from the original first issue of comics. You can see that it talked about the original comic, and that comic is a little bit older than me, so it's been around for a while. You can see that we have actual panel from the comics, really nice looking. I love this, so I think this is terrific. It's a shame that they couldn't release something like this out into stores in this packaging, but it is still pretty cool that they found a way to get the figures out. Let's go ahead and let's look at Michelangelo. Now, what you're going to notice about these guys is that it is nearly impossible to tell the difference between them sculpt-wise. It's really tough, okay? Like, I couldn't sit here with these loose and not in their packaging and tell you which one is which. I just wouldn't be able to. Because much like the comics that they're based on, without their weapons, it's extremely difficult to tell the difference. So that's something that is really difficult for me to try to figure out. But I still think that that works because basically, I mean, they look interchangeable in the comics. So this is just accurate to what I think they're trying to represent. Then, so that's the packaging, by the way, is exactly the same. Everything's the same on the side. Everything's the same on the back. But I'll tell you something that is interesting. They have that same picture of Leonardo as the main turtle on the front. And of course, all the other ones are over there too. So it's a little weird that they didn't vary this part up for each one. I think that would have been really good. Right here, we have Donatello. There he is. I like this one quite a bit. He definitely has the most neutral head sculpt of them all, which I think does suit Donatello since he is more kind of introspective and a little less out there than the other turtles. And here it just has the name is the only difference. Packaging is exactly the same, but if you look in the back, this is really cool. You actually have panels from that original first issue back there. At least, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're from the first issue. Yeah, pretty sure, but I don't quote me on that 100%. But I think that's neat that that's back there. We'll go ahead and put that one down. Move on to the next turtle. We'll go ahead and do Leonardo. Here is the leader right here. Really nice looking. Leonardo is the only one. Yes, I lied. I guess he doesn't really have any kind of expression going on. Maybe determined, meditative. That's what we'll say. Meditative for sure. I like this quite a bit. I do think it's interesting that you have kind of this rough texture. And, you know, we've noted this on the old original figures. We all remember how that looked when they released these a few years ago. But I do like that these actually look like they're filled in maybe with a little wash or something to make that a little more noticeable. Unfortunately, that's not consistent on every sample. Say, for instance, you've got like Michelangelo over here. Notice anything? I mean, his isn't really filled in at all. So you actually do have some black filled in into those kind of that hatch work that you see there. So at least it has it on some of the turtles, but I would have liked it to have been a little more consistent. Next up, we've got Raphael, save the best turtle for last. Of course, that's just my opinion. Your mileage may vary. But you can see that Raphael, really cool looking. I do like the expression that they chose for him. Of course, his eyes seem to suggest that he's a little angrier than the rest. So I do like that. I think that these are a big win. I definitely think that this was a situation where Playmates toys went above and beyond their usual standard of work. And I'm not saying that they do a bad job. I'm just saying that usually, you know, it's a little more cartoony, a little more kiddie, what they do. So I really have always enjoyed these sculpts. I would have loved it if they could have added more articulation to these guys because they did need, I think they needed wrist cuts, if I remember. I think that was the biggest problem with the original releases, that they needed a rotation. So it's a shame that that wasn't added, or at least I don't believe it was added, but these are still really cool. Now, the most interesting part of the box set by far is the new versions that they have out of Splinter and Shredder. So we're going to start with Splinter here, and this is really cool looking. I really think that this is a great representation of the old comics, as good as you could get with that original Splinter sculpt. And it's funny because the original Playmates toys Splinter sculpt is more representative of comic book Splinter than it is cartoon Splinter. At least in my opinion, it's more representative. So I actually think that that's really cool for them to actually. This is more like a remaster. This isn't necessarily a re-release or anything like that. I would definitely call this a remaster of the original figure, and to see it kind of restored to more of just pure comic book look is really, really nice. So I actually think that this is something I didn't think we would ever get. So that makes it even sweeter that it actually happened. So it's kind of a bizarre little miracle that it even came out. This is the kind of thing that I used to see customizers do online. You guys may have seen things like that before, where customizers would actually get in there and they would repaint those old original figures. But there was never any figure that got this treatment more than the original Shredder figure. And here he is with Playmates' own version of that particular custom. Now, this one's kind of funny because there's a lot of things that they did here that I really like, and there's some things that are a little puzzling. I think that this figure has a hard time, sort of like the actual box set itself. I think that it has a hard time trying to figure out whether it wants to be a comic book figure or an homage to the original toy. And that is a little frustrating that they were slightly inconsistent, I think, with their look and what they were going for. You can see Shredder here. Pretty cool looking overall. I think the legs are a little mismatched color-wise to the torso, but it's not too horribly noticeable. It is funny that they still have the eyebrows painted on the top of the helmet there. They have the entire top part of the helmet still flesh toned, which is so funny to me. And of course, it's really something I hadn't really thought about too much until SuperSeven opted to include that extra head with their reversioning of Shredder. So it's really funny that they're still doing that here, even though they're trying to represent the comics. So it's kind of strange. It's also notable that he doesn't have his cape. So it might have been nice if they had just included one that he could have at least worn as an option. I think that would have at least been nice to have had one around. It's interesting that I think both Splinter for sure, and Shredder here, I think that they have new variations on the colors that their weapon SKUs, or whatever you want to call them, are molded in on their weapon trays. So I actually think that's pretty cool. We'll go ahead and show you that on the back, they don't have any changes in particular. It just looks exactly like the other ones, and that's kind of a shame. I think that they could have used a little bit of their own artwork. Here they are at the side. But this is, I'll be honest, this is probably the main reason that I got the set. If it had just been reissues of those turtles that we had already got, you know, way back when, that would have been fine, and it would have been cool to have had them on new cards. But I really do think that this is the reason why most people would be picking this up. It's a neat idea when you think about it. Like, it's kind of, I mean, what do you guys think? This is kind of a, do you think this is a weird novelty, or is it kind of a cool idea that we have a company that is essentially customizing its own original products from like 20 years ago? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but I think it's weird in a good way. So I want to sort of encourage it, but at the same time, this also reeks of Playmates not really doing, I don't know, not really doing, not really going as far as they should, again, I guess is what I should say. And the whole landscape of the Turtles line has changed so much just this year. So say, for instance, I'll put Shredder back here. We'll let him be the centerpiece there, and we'll let one turtle remain. We'll put Splinter over here. But say, for instance, if you look, I mean, 2020 is a different world for Turtles collectors than any previous year. I mean, it really is. I guess you could say 2019 and 2020. But I'm telling you, it really became totally different this year. And you've got NECA going further, much, much, much further than they've ever gone before with all of their different Turtles lines. And yes, I said lines. They have the video game line going. They have the cartoon line going. They have the movie line going. And it is so much to keep up with. And a lot of them are so difficult to get that it's sort of maddening. I mean, say for instance, you have like Super Shredder here. Look at this. He's so huge. He's not even in frame right now. The thing is massive. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. It's as accurate, I think, as any Turtles figure has ever been before. And it kind of makes me wonder, is Playmates trying to find their place in this new world of Turtles collecting? And the thing is, I think it's always been taken for granted that Playmates just is the master toy licensor for Ninja Turtles. But can that last? I mean, can that always be? Is Playmates, are they in okay shape as a company? Because it is strange that their releases are trickling down to just very little. And, they could have other things going on that I'm just not mentioning or I don't really know about as much. And that's totally possible. So I don't want to discredit them in any way or create fake jeopardy, perhaps, that really isn't occurring within their company. But I will say that I think part of the reason that they're having a lot of this trouble is because of the failure of Rise of TMNT to connect, I think, with all the audiences they were hoping it would connect with. Now, I'm not saying at all that it's a bad show. I'm not saying at all that it's I hate to be one of these people that just because it's not aimed at my age group or at adult fans that I go ahead and I dismiss it entirely, because that's not fair. At least I don't think it's fair. There's been plenty of shows that I've enjoyed that have been probably intended for younger audiences, like the Batman Brave and the Bold series is a perfect example. But with that show, I do feel like there was more of an effort to make sure that they were satisfying adult fans as well. And now you have, this Rise of the TMNT thing. I tried watching it, for a couple episodes, and it was okay, but I could tell immediately that it wasn't my thing, like, at all. I will say the animation was actually pretty nice, pretty fluid. I think they were doing a lot of cool things there. But it's one of those shows you watch, and the animation is nice, and you're asking yourself every few minutes, oh man, I wouldn't it have been great if they had spent the animation budget on doing this instead? That's no way to enjoy something. So it didn't connect with me, and I'll tell you, I don't think the toys connected very well with people. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I do want to talk about the other big elephant in the room for 2020, and that was that SuperSeven entered the fray right here. And you can't dismiss that. That's not something you can overlook necessarily. It was huge for them to come onto the scene, and they made a very big impression with that first wave of product, and people were interested. I know that people were very interested in the initial reviews that I did on those figures, and I still need to release some of the other reviews, but they kind of got backlogged behind some other things. And I think in anticipation of Wave 2, which is coming out very soon, as a matter of fact, it should be here anytime within the next month or so. But I think in anticipation of that, I will finally release some of those other reviews. Here we have the Foot Soldier that they did. And I mean, these are fantastic. These are just something else. So we went from having kind of a drought of Turtles products after I don't want to say failure, but certainly underperformance. I don't think anybody would argue with that word being used for Rise of the TMNT, the underperformance of that brand. I think that it was great to finally have an avenue to get several different Turtles products, but they're aimed at a collector's market. They're kind of that smaller market kind of thing. And Playmates has never been able to break into that market. Let's just be real. Try as they might, and boy, have they tried. It just never has worked out for them. And that's a shame, because I do think that they have made some very valiant efforts. I think that they've actually tried, but I do think that Playmates probably has a fundamental misunderstanding of the collector's market in some ways. Say, for instance, you guys remember when we reviewed those old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie figures from way back. I mean, and at the time, I I guess it's okay to admit this. I'm a little embarrassed by how enthusiastic I was about those and how much I like those. But that's the thing. I guess I shouldn't be embarrassed, because you never know until you see something better or the improvement. I mean, you don't really know what's good, or you don't know how good it could be. And we were a million years away, or at least it seemed a million years away from getting like the NECA versions of the Ninja Turtles movie costumes. So I know that I shouldn't probably be too hard on myself for that, but I still, if you watch those reviews, please take them with a big grain of salt. I say a lot of silly things in retrospect that I'm thinking back, okay, well, maybe that wasn't so great. But honestly, I was looking at it through, I think, the appropriate lens, which is, okay, here's a children's toy company that is trying to do adult collector products at an affordable price. But of course, years later, NECA would pretty much do the exact same price for their Turtles products, and they were 10 times better. So I don't know. You never know about the future with this stuff. But I do know this, that it is kind of funny that Playmates has apparently decided that for now, their future is re-releasing old product in cool looking box sets. So that's something that's, I don't know. I guess we'll see if that's viable for them. We'll see if that's something that is a continual thing. I know that apparently they have the movie star figures being reissued very soon. I think that those might be a Target exclusive, but no one is 100% sure on that yet. It does seem like they're doing some retailer kind of exclusive stuff because I know that the Turtles comic book set back here, that was very situated, or to me anyway, it seemed very situated to Walmart. So I don't know if that means it's kind of a timed exclusive for Walmart or what that means exactly, but it means something. I'm not really sure. And then I remember they did the original figure reissues, and that was just recently. And it seemed like a lot of people were getting their pre-orders from GameStop. And now with the movie star figures, a lot of, it seems to be situated at Target. So it's almost like they're hitting all of your regular avenues that action figure companies are going through to try to get product out there. I think that's admirable. I'm glad that they're doing it. It's a little odd. It's certainly a strange way. It's certainly a strange move. But, none of those other products excited me as much as these bizarre, absolutely out there comic book reversionings of old Turtles figures. Like I said, it's like you've got a company that's doing customs of its old original products. Imagine Hasbro reissuing like old Transformers and I don't know, giving them like new cartoon paint jobs, and which they've kind of done things like that a little bit before, but it's a very odd move and I think it's kind of cool. So I hope they continue to do more weird, less safe stuff like that, not just straight reissues. And I do know that the Turtles are straight reissues, but still. Checking this out though, here's another sign of the times. This is almost, I don't know, it's almost embarrassing how much of a domination this is of the market. But, this is the NECA Turtles 2 set for Toka and Razar. And, if this doesn't tell you that the market has changed for Turtles figures, I don't know what will. I mean, this is a whole new level of detail. This is a whole new level of intricacy with these figures. So I don't know exactly what the future is going to hold for the Turtles brand, but you have to keep wondering. You really do. You have to wonder, is Playmates, is this more of like a, okay, here's this is kind of, an end cap of all of our history on the Ninja Turtles brand. Here it is. It's been fun. Is it like that? Now, I would be a little more convinced of that conspiracy theory, okay? I really would be. But there's a little bit of a, I don't know, there's something gnawing at me that's telling me that's not the case. And I'll tell you what it is. It is, man, when was this? This was, I guess, 2011, 2012, something, or no, it was 2010 or so, 2009, when originally Playmates was wrapping up what they were doing with the 2003 and Back to the Sewers show, which they really didn't do much for Back to the Sewers. And they were wrapping up everything pretty much. And then you had the Turtles Forever movie. And it seemed like that they were pretty much just gone as a company. As a matter of fact, I remember they relocated their offices to California or something at the time. And I remember thinking, okay, it's over. And for about a year or two, it was like that all they released were like reissues of old Turtles products. And that was pretty much it. And you really didn't hear anything out of them until the 2012 Turtles series of products. And unless there's something I'm forgetting, what do you guys think of it? I mean, I don't think there was anything going on at that time. I think it was pretty well a dead zone for Turtles product. And then out of the blue, that 2012 show hit on Nickelodeon. And those figures, man, I think it's easy to forget how big that they were. but they were huge in my area. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there were figures that you just couldn't find that Christmas. And this was, that was unheard of for a toy line, for an action figure line at that time, especially a kid's action figure line. Because I think if I remember right, it was Splinter. Nobody could find a Splinter like anywhere. And so it was huge. People trying to get him. It was gigantic. People were going to all these extremes. I think I remember Donatello was kind of rare as well because I think he was short pack. So it's funny, never count Playmates toys out because I remember looking at all their success. And man, let me just tell you, the 2012 Turtles series, that was the most successful toy line uh, in any store in my area. And I know that because I would come in, everything would be bought out. I would go through a brand new case of them. There were characters that I never found at retail ever and still never found them. I remember even like goofy variants like the Halloween turtles. You guys remember those that they did just like probably about 3 Halloweens ago. Those were fantastic. And talk about their release schedule was like a machine. Those things come out right around Halloween and they were gone. They did not stick around. And I remember I still never found some of those. There was like the I think Monster Hunter Leonardo and things with the big like wide hat, kind of like a Van Helsing looking type of Leonardo. And I remember it was frustrating. And most lines just weren't performing like that at the time. So never, ever, ever count Playmates out. I just hope that Playmates is working with their partners, their entertainment partners, especially the people at Viacom, so that hopefully we're seeing something that can actually last and work for them. And I do not blame Playmates necessarily for the rise of the TMNT line. I think that they were put in a pretty much unwinnable situation because the source material didn't really appeal to people, and it just didn't work out. The same thing sort of happened to them with the Fast Forward line, Ninja Turtles Fast Forward. But I don't know if did any of you guys watch Fast Forward, like actually watch the series? Maybe you can tell me in the chat or something like that. But it was actually, in my opinion, Fast Forward was a really good series. Like it was actually extremely well written, and it was well voice acted. I believe it was Lloyd Goldfine, I think, wasn't that the guy's name that was in charge of all those 4 kids Turtles animated shows? Those were fantastic. I mean, even Fast Forward, a really hokey and potentially ridiculous premise, was actually really, really well done. And a lot of the comedy worked for me, and the premise worked. And what's really sad is season 2 of Fast Forward sounded better than season 1, and they didn't get to make it. Instead, the show is kind of cut off abruptly, and we get Back to the Sewers, which was a fine show. I actually liked Back to the Sewers quite a bit. I actually like what they did with the Turtles designs in that show. I think that there was a lot of cleanup done on those designs that kind of made them a little more consistent. So I think that that's good. But it's been a wild ride for the Turtles up to 2020. But I will say, am I the only one who feels like, especially with the Target stuff, the animated toys from NECA, that's Target exclusive, am I the only one that feels like I just can't keep up with those? Like I can't keep up with those releases. I can't find them all. I feel like that it's ridiculous for me to exert myself looking for them. I don't know. I just feel silly trying to hunt these down, and so I don't know. It's not something that I feel like that I need to immerse myself in or stress myself about. When toy collecting, when it becomes stressful, then it's ridiculous. Why would you even do it if it's something that's not going to bring you enjoyment or something that's not going to tickle you in some kind of way? So in a way, and this is kind of crazy, I guess, but I am thinking about getting out of some of the NECA Turtles collecting for the cartoon stuff because I can't keep up with it, and I'm not going to pay the secondary market prices. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I can't do that. There's no way. Budget won't allow me to do that for one thing. So it's craziness. It's all craziness. But of course, just drop us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about this. If this is a cool idea, was this a bad idea? I think it was a pretty neat idea. Glad these things exist. And let me know, should I open all these guys up and just say, forget it? Or is this the kind of thing that's nice enough to where there's such a peculiarity and there's such an oddity? Should I keep these on the card? Do I open them? Do I not open them? It's the classic collector conundrum. Oh my gosh, that was the silliest alliteration possible. It wasn't even intentional. Anyway, though, guys, I hope that everybody is having a terrific New Year celebration of some sort. And unless, and of course, hopefully everybody's safe and everybody's healthy. I know that I've been very blessed and to do well this year and to stay healthy myself. And of course, God bless you and your family. And as always, be safe out there, guys. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.